Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
Come on into the Johnnie Bobbo show, and we are back. 1 week hiatus, and I'm not gonna lie. All right, well, I'm Johnny Malors Jr. I'm of 87sportsfans.com, and so is our producer and my co-host this evening, Mr. Keith Grieve.
I get like bonus duties.
See,
duties.
so bonus what?
I get bonus duties.
Oh, you get bonus duties. Yeah, no, you finally get to, as if you don't showcase your talent all the damn time, you get to do that, especially tonight with Bob Sullivan, our guy. He's not here. He's very busy working for a cable company, listening to customer complaints. So I would imagine we're having a lot more fun than he is at the moment.
Yeah, anytime that you like get stuck at doing work, and I don't know, maybe he prefers work to our company, John. I don't know. I'd like to think not, but
no, he loves us. Bob, I mean, that's a fun thing. Like with Bob, you can pick on him and he's okay with it. He'll come back at you with it, even though he claims he has social anxiety, all this other stuff. No. Bob is one of the most outspoken people I think I've ever met. Wouldn't you say?
I he doesn't hold anything in. That's for certain.
No. But
you said he worked for a cable company, and I just went and tried to find a soundboard for the movie Cable Guy, and there is not the soundbite of Jim Carrey going Cable Guy, which was the one I was looking for. So how do you create a soundboard for that movie and not have that sound in there?
Apparently, it's not very useful when you're prank calling people.
What a load of crap.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. But what's a load of crap? Let me tell you this. I am in a fat man coma. I have acne popping up in weird places on my face. I'm getting all fat. I don't fit into my pants, and it's all because of damn Thanksgiving. My God, how was your Thanksgiving, sir?
All right, I went full fat guy. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. What was your favorite dish? Because, see, I'm Lithuanian, and my mom's kugelas, oh, good Lord. A little bit of that and some sour cream. What it is now, it's like it's grated potato and bacon and eggs and a little bit of onion, okay? And you fry it, or you bake it in the oven, and it comes out kind of like a cakey thing. Oh, my God. It is out of this damn world, I'm telling you.
Did you have turkey?
Yeah, there was turkey involved, but I mean, when it comes down to my favorite dish, it's the kugelas, man. That's always where I'm going with it. It's a meal in itself.
I made a dish to bring because my sister-in-law had Thanksgiving over at her house, and so I made a dish that was so simple, yet made me look like a culinary genius, and like everybody was like over the moon about it. So I was riding high in the saddle the rest of the night.
Potatoes. What was it?
Those sweet potatoes. Oh, did you see the pictures on Facebook?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
I would imagine it's one of those things that's simple, but I love it.
It's called yam gratin. It looks like gratin, but it's pronounced gratin. And it's basically just yams, heavy cream, and salt. It's that simple. And you slice the yams like thin, not paper thin, but like thin slices of yams, and you soak them in the salt and cream, and you layer them. And you put Gruyere cheese in the middle, and you put it in the oven, and you put it in the oven for half an hour, and you take it out, and you use a spatula, and you push down the yams so that all the cream runs over the top, and you put it back in the oven for another half an hour, and you take it out, and you break the crust again and let the cream run all over the top of the yams one more time, and then 45 minutes in the oven, and you're done. And it's
better than the twice-baked potato.
It's amazing, I'm telling you. Me and my wife
sounds pretty great.
Me and my wife actually contemplated not bringing it and just saving it for us.
No, you got to do that, man. Sometimes, for instance, my mom, she's a genius. Okay, she always cooks. Like I said, she makes the kugelas, but she also makes these cheesy potatoes They pretty much knock everybody's socks off that ever puts them in their mouth, and they're absolutely great. They got the the cornflake crust over the top. They're super cheesy. They're out of this world. And so what she does, she makes like the big pan for everybody, and then there's always a side pan that's kind of sitting there for the fat kids like myself. And you got to go to it.
I just sent you the link to so you can see the picture of this dish.
Oh, I need to see this. Yeah, so you distracted me because that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. It kind of looks like scalloped potatoes on steroids.
Yes, but it's amazing.
Wow, no, that looks pretty good. And see, and I'm the sweet potato guy. Like I like it with the with the marshmallows on top and the cranberries and stuff. Those, cause I got a sweet tooth. I can't deny it, man.
Oh yeah, well, everything tastes better when it's sweeter. It just.
Well, that's what we're doing tonight. We're bringing our guy. Christmas it's going to come early. We got our guy Jim Saranteas, the Fantasy Greek. He's going to drop down the Johnnie Bobbo show chimney, deliver some hashtag AskTFG gifts to all the good little boys and girls looking to make the most of the last week of the regular season here in your fantasy football leagues. And you know what? He's going to help you get your team to the playoffs. That's what's got to happen. I'm already set in my one league. Oh, good Lord.
That was the Fantasy Greek falling down the chimney.
Oh, no. I hope Jim's all right. I was wise. I took out the little grate, that holds all the wood.
I can
for that thing.
I can find that sound, but I can't find Jim Carrey saying "cable guy." Jeez.
Yeah, no, that's just how it goes. But yeah, no. So hashtag your questions. Hashtag AskTFG. You can send that to @LN Sports Radio. Otherwise, give us a call, 585-633-7487, because you're not only going to give us a call on that. We're going to be talking a little bit later on, while you're out there busy trampling over somebody's grandma for a deal on the latest version of Tickle Me Elmo. Major League Baseball, the GMs, they're getting crazy. They're adjusting their list for, baseball Santa here. The free agent market, it's starting to begin to take shape a little bit. You got David Price off the board, Jordan Zimmerman. So we're going to get into a little bit of that as well. And then later on, the year 2015, in some aspects a good year. For me, I've kind of been up and down with it. I'm not too sure how I'm going to look back on 2015 at this point, but it's winding down. And that means we're bringing Coty VanCura of Coty's Q, and we're going to talk a little bit of the top albums of the year for him. And later on along the way, Keith Grieve, our guy, he's going to give us a late-night sports radio scoreboard check so you can talk sports live as they happen. So give us a call, 585-633-7487. Give us a tweet at LN Sports Radio. Listen to us on Spreaker apps. Later on, you can download us on iTunes. But when it comes down to it, I got to tell you something, Keith. What the hell is going on with the Green Bay Packers right now? It was 17-0. This is the first time, I believe it was 56 straight games, okay, where the Packers had points in the first half. And that kind of came to an end tonight. They've been shut out. They haven't been shut out since 2006 by the New England Patriots, who just themselves lost their first game of the year. So we'll see how they bounce back from that. We'll talk to maybe Jim Saranteas about that a little bit down the line here. But when it comes down to it, what the hell is going on with the Packers? Would things have been different if they chose to wear the color rush uniforms? Because they bowed out of it this year, and the Lions, they have a good excuse. The Lions, they're debuting a new jersey next year, a third jersey. So that's why they're holding out. And the Packers, they just said they didn't want to do it.
Yeah, I think you're the only person I know that really cares about that stuff.
I do, because those are the ugliest uniforms you'll ever see. They're awful. Every one of them. I haven't seen a team look good in those disgusting looking uniforms.
It's the bad one was the first week where it was the Bills and the Jets and the red and green and the colorblind people couldn't.
Everybody just looked brown.
Yeah, pretty much.
That sucks. You would think there's somebody within the line of the NFL who's like, hey, you know what? That's probably a bad idea, but I don't know. Maybe somebody missed that email, but I mean, even think about it. If the Packers were to do it, they'd either be wearing all green or that yellow stuff, yellow pants, yellow jersey. That's just a bad look. So I kind of don't blame them for skipping that. But what the hell's wrong with it? Is it Olivia Munn ruining? The Green Bay Packers here? Is that who? Aaron Rodgers is dating right
I
now?
don't know. The demise of every great athlete usually has something to do with a woman. But I don't know. Does Aaron Rodgers have Andre Agassi syndrome, or more importantly, Brooke Shields syndrome? Because he got married to Brooke Shields, and all of a sudden he couldn't play tennis anymore, and then he got divorced, and even after he married Steffi Graf, he was able to play. But the Brooke Shields years, he forgot how to play tennis.
And didn't he have hair then too?
I forget where he was.
And then he lost it, and he lost his career at the same time. It's a rough go.
It's definitely a rough stretch in Aaron Rodgers' career. The last 3 weeks, he has the third lowest completion percentage in the NFL for the last 3 weeks, not counting tonight. And tonight's not boding all that much better for him. Only Eli Manning and Ryan Fitzpatrick have completed fewer passes.
Yeah, well, I mean, think of it this way. This is the first time since 2008 that the Packers have lost consecutive home games. This was the first season where he broke that ridiculous streak of not throwing an interception at home, and he broke it in, fantastic Jay Cutler fashion. It was like 3 or 4 picks that day. I mean, it seems like things just aren't there. I mean, is this the loss of Jordy Nelson? Does he just not have enough targets? I mean, Devontae Adams, he's dropping things left and right. That wasn't looking good for him. I think the guy had like 22 targets or something like that and wound up with like 3 catches.
Well, Devontae Adams isn't helping matters any, but this goes beyond that. I mean, you look at tonight, and between James Starks, Aaron Rodgers, Eddie Lacy, and a ill-advised run to Randall Cobb, the Packers have 15 carries for 16 yards. You're not going to win any games in the NFL if you're one-dimensional. You're just not. And they can't run the ball at all.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, that was kind of the thing. It looked like, the kind of, the passing offense, didn't really seem like it was going that hot, obviously not having so many targets out there. But it seemed like, the running game kind of started getting going there behind Eddie Lacy. And then the defense, last time they played the Lions, they held Lions at 287 yards altogether. That was week 10. So, I mean, this is their second bout in 4 weeks here. And, yeah, it's tough to beat – the same team twice, in a season, especially when it comes to, in your division, a big team like the Packers. And you think about the Lions, I mean, really, is this really all Jim Bob Cooter that is helping this Lions thing turn itself around? Because when you look at it, I mean, Matt Stafford, he's been bad when it comes down to December.
Yeah, but you can't argue with what he's done recently. I mean, over that same period, because I still have the stats up in front of me.
So what's the difference, Jim Bob?
Whatever Jim Bob brings differently than what's his name there that got fired.
I don't know. He's fired. Who cares?
Yeah, Stafford has the same 3-game stretch that I just ripped on Aaron Rodgers for. Matthew Stafford has the 4th highest QB rating in that time, and 7 touchdowns, 1 interception, while also dealing with 8 drops.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and the thing that's kind of crazy to me about all this is. I guess, you should know as a Bears fan today. I think was today the 30th anniversary of the release of the Super Bowl Shuffle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sure was.
Good memories. The 80s were wonderful.
Yeah, but I mean, as a Bears fan, you wouldn't think that you would have a rooting interest, when it comes down to this game, nor would you even think that the Lions would even be in the mix of things. You know what I mean? Going into this, 4-7. They stand a puncher's chance when it comes down to it because, I mean, they go and clean house, and then all of a sudden they go on this huge winning streak, and so it's just kind of trying to figure out what's different now that wasn't there before. You know what I mean? And, the biggest part for them was their offense. Matthew Stafford, Calvin Johnson. I mean, these are guys that they rely on. Those are their heavy targets. Those are their key players, and it just didn't seem like things are working out for them. Now all of a sudden they're clicking. And this all of a sudden turns into, quite the race because somehow the Bears are still in it. I mean, they can't defend a run, but they keep winning ball games. So who knows how this is going to pan out right now.
Yeah, and you look at this will be the second time in 4 games that the Lions have beaten the Packers if they do hold on to win this game, and they now have extended their lead to 20-0 as we hit the 8:54 mark in the third quarter. Yeah, I mean. You look at the rest of the Lions schedule. They go to St. Louis, which is a mess, to New Orleans, which is a mess. They're home against the 49ers, and then they close out the season on January 3rd at Chicago, which has the potential to be a really big deal to put it lightly.
Yeah, no, and I mean, you kind of look at what the Packers got going on. You know, they come up here, they lost against the Bears, going at Detroit. You know, obviously it looks like it's going to be a loss. Then they're playing Dallas. Then they're at Oakland, at the Cardinals, which is going to be a tough game. And then they close it out at the Vikings. And, those are all not all of them, but I mean outside of the Cowboys game and and the Oakland game, but the Cardinals and the Vikings, that's tough.
That's three really tough games because for all the Raiders' warts, their offense is still pretty good.
David Carr's been lighting it up. I mean, we might get into him a little bit later on.
I think you mean Derek.
Derek Carr. Yeah, same thing.
No, they're really not.
No, it's all good.
No. I need you to.
Houston didn't pan out all that well, and
I need you to understand this. There is nothing similar about David and Derek Carr. Zero.
So what do you think at least about the Russell Wilson coming out of nowhere last week and looking like he remembered how to play quarterback? Is that a thing that they're going to be able to rely on here or what?
No, I don't know about that. I'm not ready to say that. I think that Russell Wilson's strength as a quarterback is the fact that he can escape as much as he does in that offense and that they've had a good running game to rely on. I'm not ready to say that the Russell Wilson we saw last week is the Russell Wilson we're going to see. I'm sure we might see it again sometime.
Right.
But to say that it's going to be every week, I'm not ready to say that yet.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it just seemed like the hopes, everybody had such a high ceiling on him, seeing what he kind of came into the league and how he dominated right off the bat, going to the postseason over and over and over.
He's not a good passer though.
Yeah, exactly. And that was kind of my, defense all along, but it seemed, everybody was still into it. I mean, he's still going to give you 30 yards on the ground, but I just don't think, obviously with his size, that's a big issue. You know what I mean? If you can't see over the line, I'm sorry. I'm a short guy. I'm going to admit that's a problem.
Well,
you know what I mean?
It doesn't make life easier, but there's ways around that. You, as a coach, you can scheme around that. Well, the important thing for Russell Wilson is to not make any interceptions or not to make any mistakes, rather.
And don't fumble. That was a problem. He's not coming up with the fumbles this year like he had in years past. He had, 12 fumbles last year, recovered all of them?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this year, he's just losing them all. So it's not a good thing.
He's completing about almost 68% of his passes, so there's really not much more you can ask of the guy.
Right.
And he's in the
football.
And he's in the top 13 as far as the percent of his yards that are in the air. So not relying on yards after catch to rack up passing yards.
Yeah.
So
good arm. Hey, you can always play second base for the Texas Rangers.
I think it'd be curious to see what they do this week against Minnesota with no Jimmy Graham, and that's probably going to be the clearest indicator of what this team's going to be like going forward.
But let me ask you this now: looking at that offense without Jimmy Graham, didn't it look better? Or am I just kind of
defined better? Because look, Jimmy Graham didn't light the world on fire by any means. But he was an offensive talent that defenses had to take into account. You don't have that now.
Yeah, that's just an ugly thing. Anybody that has him, you're in a keeper league. I don't know if I would hang on to him next year.
It's you got it.
Maybe we'll ask Jim about that.
Yeah, you got it right. And right now, Luke Wilson, who's a veteran, he's been there a couple of years since 2013. He steps into the starting tight end, a good player. He's not as athletic as Jimmy Graham. He can't go up and get balls like Jimmy Graham can. He takes away something from that offense that now the opposing defense can focus on someplace else. They can maybe pay a little bit more attention to Doug Baldwin. You know who's got to step up is Jermaine Kearse.
Yeah. I picked him up a couple weeks ago. He didn't do jack diddly for me.
Well, it's Seattle's passing offense is going to do that to you. It's going to frustrate you as a fantasy owner.
Oh, yeah. No, especially. You know what really frustrates me? The league that we're in with Jim, holy hell, dude. There are so many people in that league. I haven't been able to find a running back for, honest to Christ, like probably 7 weeks.
I had to make so many trades just to get – because I auto-drafted, and I got pummeled.
Yeah, because the draft was at like 10 a.m. on a Sunday.
I think it was at my –
I was literally setting my lineup. I was like, okay, here, I'm writing it all down. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to this game. I was going to a fundraiser, and I was like, okay, I'm going to handwrite all my stuff. I'm going to take my notes. I'm going to be all sneaky and be either driving down there or at the game, and I'm going to be doing my draft. Everything's going to be great. And then I go to, like, set my auto draft, and I was like, oh, hey, I have a team. And it was at, like, 11 o'clock in the morning. I was like, what the hell just happened? Why do I have a team already?
Oh,
that was my fault for not knowing the time of the draft start. It's crazy time, man. 10 a.m. Sunday.
Yeah, I think it was at my daughter's field hockey pancake breakfast fundraiser. So it's like, okay, priorities here on a Sunday morning. Right. Sorry, honey, I can't support you. Daddy's got a fantasy football draft. Yeah,
that's very important because I talk on a podcast, and that's very important to people. So I can't have a bad fantasy team. That's what everybody feels like. How's your fantasy team? How's your fantasy team? That's all right. It's fine. My one team's kicking ass. I'm probably going to take that league, but this one, I was on a streak there for a while, and then, somebody knocked the bottom out of the monkey. So that didn't work out so great,
Yeah, yeah.
We're working on that. But you know what else we're working on? If you got problems like that, we're going to fix that today. Because we're bringing in Dr. Jim Saranteas, the Fantasy Greek. He's going to fix your fantasy team. Hashtag it, AskTFG. Or just give us a damn call, 585-633-7487. Later on after that, we're going to get to the emo prince of the Midwest, Mr. Coty VanCura. He's going to break down some of his top albums of 2015, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of disagreements there. So you want to get in on that talk, give us a call, 585-633-7487. Give us a tweet at LN Sports Radio. And you're listening to the Johnnie Bobbo Show on Late Night Sports Radio on Spreaker apps.
Something shines in your eyes tonight. Baby, there's no need to lie tonight. I see your lips out on fire. Oh, baby, I want you to be mine.
ain't no danger. Well, look, we're back again. Say, do you remember when you were just another face slowly being erased? Say, do you remember when you were just another face slowly being erased? You're running, you're running, you're running, you hide, 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 you're running, you're running, you're running, you hide. Yeah, you're running And then there's road laid out before you, but you don't know where to go to. It doesn't really matter, just so your heart's not shattered. Cause you never deal with things, you can just extend your wings. Take off flying far away to any place you feel safe. So stop your running now, come back and we'll talk it out. Now that things have settled down, we can find some common ground. Common ground, common ground, common ground, rap, 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 rap. You're running, you're running, you're running, you hide, 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 you're running, you're running, you're running, you hide.
Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
Back into the Johnny Bobbo Show on Late Night Sports Radio. Spreaker apps. He's got me all excited here. Playing a little Ryan Adams.
He totally took Taylor Swift's album. And if there's Taylor Swift fans listening, I apologize. He totally took
it.
He took it and he made it. What's the word I'm looking for?
Listenable.
Oh, besides that, I want to say like resonant, but that's not the word. It made it, I don't know, tangible for males. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. No, he definitely did. And like, my whole beef with country and there's some good country out there now. I'm not going to deny it. There's some good country acts out there that are worth listening to. And he was one of the guys that, it was mostly because of his freak out nature and his drug addictions and everything else that I guess kind of kept him out of the country world. That's a damn country song. You know what I mean? His sound would be so perfect. It's like that perfect crossover barrier where you'd be able to bring over people that listen to other genres of music and they would start listening to country because of guys like Ryan Adams. And it would just create a whole new niche of music. And that pisses me off, to be honest with you. It does, because man, he deserves so much better. He's such a fantastic artist. My God, lyricist, and when it comes down to even just executing and performing the music, the guy's over the top. He's great. He used to be married to Mandy Moore. Do you remember that?
Get out, really?
Yeah, they got divorced. I don't know what the hell she's doing these days, but they were married at one point.
Wow.
Yeah, how about that? You know what else?
I thought he was older than her, like creepy older than her.
No, I don't think he's that much. It's probably like a good 7 years though. I would think. Oh, that ain't bad. 7 years?
No, yeah. I'm trying to think. Everything gets judged by my scale. My wife and I are 5 years apart.
Okay.
It's real great to gross out your 15-year-old daughter when you remind her that, hey, when I was 15, your mom was 10. Ew.
How does that go over?
Ew. That's pretty much it.
My God. So real quick, man. Let me just ask you this, because you got one. You had a boy, you got a girl, and what is top on Santa's list this year for the kiddies? Because I've been told Scooby-Doo Legos are pretty damn cool, and anything Peanuts is cool with this guy. That movie, I'm telling you, man, that movie's the best.
I gotta see it. I haven't seen it yet.
You got to do it. But what are they asking for? Because there's something called a zippy sack.
What? I'm sorry. What? What was that?
Yeah, it's called a zippy sack.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, no, and I didn't even see the commercial. I was just told, and anything that pops on TV that's a commercial, 5-year-old Matthias is like, I want that. I'm like, well, okay. You kind of want everything, which is fine. But he totally knows girl toys. You know what I mean? Where no, that's for girls. Okay. He's like a little Russian man, or sometimes, I don't know. He's from Korea or something. I don't know what's going on with that little guy, but he's funny as hell.
My daughter, my 9-year-old, I asked her what she wants for Christmas, and she says science. And I'm like, really?
She accepted.
I'm like, how do you put science in a box? Okay, we'll go. So probably heading over to Barnes & Noble eventually.
You got it, man.
But it's cool that she's interested in stuff like that. But then she also circles the DSs and stuff like that. But
yeah. Oh, see, we have a big Zelda fan, over the top Zelda fan. So anytime I can find anything Zelda, I'm all over it, or someone else is all over it, and everybody's fighting over who's buying what.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about that? Are you guys big Christmas? Are you big gift givers?
Well, what do you mean? Obviously to the kids, but
with a bunch of gifts for the kids, because this year as adults, and this is we have a very, I don't know, it's a modern family, if you want to call it that, where there's a lot of grandparents and a lot of things going on, and it's everybody's always trying. It's not even out gifting. It's just everybody wants to love the kids so much that there's a ton of gifts that come pouring on top of everybody, and man, it gets overwhelming for some people. And for me, I guess it doesn't bother me as much, but yeah, no, I don't know. How's that go in your house? You guys have tons of gifts everywhere, or what?
I mean, there's a good amount of for the kids and all. Me and my wife usually get something, just one or two small things for each other.
Yeah,
but
see, no, that's what I'm gonna do. It's gonna be a little gift, and I'm gonna get something for Kate and whatever. But it'll be an interesting Christmas. But how about this interesting Christmas? David Price, 7 years, $217 million. This guy is going to get paid from anywhere between $1 and $31 million per poop he takes this year, depending on how often he poops. Is that not impressive numbers?
No. Imagine how much they would have had to pay him if he had actually won a postseason start before.
No kidding, right? And that's the crazy thing. When you kind of look at what Boston was doing, obviously, pitching was a big thing for them. You know what I mean? Kind of going into this, you bring in Dave Dombrowski. Mike Hazen's working there now as a GM. Dave Dombrowski's kind of overlooking things, and it's not necessarily the worst situation to walk into. And it was honestly, when it comes down to the way I see it, I think that's a great pickup for Boston. For John Henry, go out there, bringing a guy like that Dombrowski and actually John Henry. had initially was, I believe he was the owner of the Marlins. And he was the guy that hired Dave Dombrowski after he had some other things going on. I mean, it was just, they had that working relationship. And Dombrowski's really good at, kind of utilizing whatever assets a team currently has in the minor league systems, kind of working out something to at least, develop a niche that they're going to develop really well if you're not going to develop everything perfectly. And the guy has an idea, knows how to build a championship club. I mean, you look at the Tigers teams that he put together. You look at the championship he won with the Marlins, and the Marlins won, I believe it was 2 years later or 3 years later. That was basically all the guys that Dombrowski had drafted, and they just made that much more important and impressive. But when you look at what they're doing, they're looking to add a starting pitcher. They need to add an ace. Whether, it was through a trade, with all the assets that they had, like I said, all the minor league guys down there, or whether it was, signing a free agent. There's David Price, Johnny Cueto, Jordan Zimmerman. He ended up signing with Dombrowski's former team, the Detroit Tigers, and Zach Greinke is still hanging out there. Were you kind of surprised, at least, to see, David Price come in there? And do you think, for a guy that hasn't won a postseason game, is that the right pick? If you're going to go out there and sign an ace at big money like that?
Well, it was a need. You know what I mean? So they went out and they did what they felt they needed to do. I mean, his WAR from the last 3 years is 13.1. Okay, so what does that mean? Compared it to everybody, the only one with a higher one is Zach Greinke, and he was a little over 20. So you're getting a 30-year-old pitcher who has been on a bunch of clubs in the last 3 or 4 years. And he's been good, but he hasn't really been great. You know what I mean? But you look at the Boston rotation from this past season, and it obviously is. What's that?
I said something had to happen there with that rotation.
Yeah, it was an absolute must, or what's the word I'm looking for? A necessity to address. That's not what the phrase. That's not how I was trying to phrase it, but it's what came out, kid. So that's what you're getting.
Yeah, well, that's the hell what it was. I mean, when you look at that rotation, you have Clay Buchholz. He's making $13 million. Rick Porcello is making $20 million this year. Wade Miley's on that roster. And they got guys like Joe Kelly, Henry Owens, Stephen Wright. The guys that really haven't proven themselves at this point.
And Porcello's the guy that they gave up Cespedes for. Don't forget that little wrinkle there.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
And yeah, and Porcello was a guy, I always kind of, liked what he was doing, but, because I do Detroit radio, like Michigan stuff. And so I kind of kept a close eye on that whole thing. And, what always kind of amazed me, I knew Scherzer was going to be one of those guys because, Verlander always had the spotlight, but Scherzer was always so good. And it was almost like he was mimicking Verlander when it came down to, a lot of the, his pitch sequences, and kind of just the way he pitched and his stamina and being able to pitch, hard late in games. That was always something that stuck out to me. But, Porcello, he was always kind of a high hope guy. You know what I mean? There was, always a ton of streaks in there where he's either hot or cold and kind of working through some mechanical issues or this or that. And it just never really was able to, piece it together for an entire season. It was a lot of either first half, second half kind of stuff. And, so, I mean, there's a lot of work to be done there. You know what I mean? But, I mean, at least he doesn't have to worry about a lot of free agents. I'm sure he wishes he had more in Boston. I mean, all the guys that are leaving, none of them are considerable. A lot of them to their middle relief. They got to worry about Hanley Ramirez. What the hell are they going to do with this guy? He's 3 years, $66 million left in that contract. They are probably moving him to first base. They've asked him to lose 15 to 20 pounds to improve his endurance and reduce injury risk. I mean, the guy played in 105 games last year for a career low 0.717 OPS. And, I guess they got a point. You do have to lose a little bit of weight, especially when you're out there playing 162 games. That, it's, when you lose those 15 to 20 pounds, you're a little bit more agile. You're not going to be as achy and painsy, I guess, as you would otherwise. But aside from that, I mean, they have, Bogarts and Betts to build around. Both these guys under 22 years old. both had OPS last season of over .775. And it's only the second pair of teammates to do that in the last 33 years, to be 22 years old and have all that stuff accomplished. And then just set in the outfield, Jackie Bradley, Mookie Betts, Rusney Castillo. So I mean, at some point, I think when it comes down to the trade block, they're probably going to try to move Hanley, because that's something they don't want to deal with. But I mean, who's really even going to be interested in a guy like that? You think the Yankees are going to jump at that? They're not going to go interdivision on him, but Hanley's got to go somewhere. Is he going back to the Dodgers? They don't want him.
Yeah, I don't know. And at what price tag? Because he was on the books for $22 million in 2016 for the Red Sox. So.
And it's just such big money, and I'm not really sure. I mean, maybe they find a silly team like maybe Colorado or something that's looking to take in a guy like that, but that's even a bad fit for him. I mean, that's probably one of the more interesting teams for me to watch this offseason is, you have Jeff Bridich comes in there and he takes over, the Colorado Rockies, and it's such a strange organization to have. Where it comes to where your pitchers are always gonna get rocked at home, and then pitch okay on the road. But when it comes out to your offense, they're gonna do great at home, and then when they hit the road, they're getting shut out everywhere because at the lower altitude, they say the pitches have more life, and they've done things like throughout the Rockies minor league system, all their affiliates tend to play in higher altitude cities. And so these guys kind of get a taste of a little bit what it's going to be like to pitch at Coors Park, at Coors Field. But I guess it's a lot to try to find guys that are free agents. They're going to be willing to come in there knowing that they're not going to be, their numbers are going to be inflated. Pitching in Coors Field rather than going someplace else where you're not going to have to worry about that hardly ever. You know what I mean?
Right. I hear you.
Yeah, and I just think it's a tough move, at least for Bridich to at least try to find a way to, I guess maybe to convince some of these guys to come over here. But it's also knowing how to build your team, how to get these guys used to those situations. I mean, you have Carlos Gonzalez. This is a guy where basically they need to find out right now. What are you doing? Are you going to be here? When are you going to be in contention? Is it going to be now? Is it going to be 2 years from now? 3 years from now? If it's any more than 2 years. You got to dump Carlos Gonzalez. His value at this point isn't going to get any higher. If you ask me, he's 30 years old. He's got 2 years left at $37 million. Good hitter, and pretty good right fielder for the most part. It was last June, since June 1st of last season to the end of the season, he batted .293 with 36 homers and 84 RBIs. So. You would think he would at least be able to bring back 2 or 3 prospects that you can kind of work with here. And, I just think it's, like I said, you got to see what moves they take here in the offseason. And if they can, when it comes to the offseason, let's face it. When it comes down to trade, guys that are on the trading block, you tend to get higher value for a lot of these guys right now. Just because it's the offseason. And people have so much time to analyze these situations that are in all these front offices. And I'm telling you, this is a chance for the Rockies. Jeff Bridich needs to come in here and make a move. You know what I mean? Don't sit on for as long as you can. Make the move, get him gone, and I don't know, dude, make something of this ball club.
No, I hear you. It's way early. You know what I mean? It's too early to get all. I don't know, to start worrying or anything like that. But as a fan, you just got to let the process take its course, John. You need to relax.
Yeah. No, you do. But, you want to see, it's always been frustrating. We've had this conversation on the show before, but it's always frustrating watching, as a Sox fan, a lot of things the Cubs are doing. Where you see them building a farm system, you see them building different, types of revenue, and, there's a direction. Right now, but before, Thed and Gio, or Theo and Jed, Thed and Gio, the hell was that?
I knew what you meant.
Yeah, no, but before Ep Hoyer took over the Cubs, that team didn't have direction. You didn't know what the hell they were doing. Everything was patchwork, and it's the same thing Colorado's been doing for a long damn time. You know, I mean, it's about time to start, pick a lane here. You know what I mean? It's it's a team like that. It's a team like Seattle. Seattle went through, they made a change. You know what I mean? They bring in Jerry DiPoto. So, I mean, he's already made a few moves. So he's got an idea. But, I mean, I guess I don't know. I just can't see why you don't hear them more involved in a lot of these different moves. I mean, they got a guy like Jose Reyes. He wants the hell out of town. So, I mean, that's a guy that's going to go. But, I mean, you're not going to get much for him. But you can probably trade him and some of his money along with a guy like Carlos Gonzalez and, make the Mets happy or something. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
There's got to be somebody out there.
Well,
whatever.
I'm looking at the list of remaining free agents here, free agent batters, and names like Jason Hayward, Alex Gordon is out there. I don't think he leaves Kansas City.
But here's the thing. I mean, you can list off as many free agent hitters as you want, but when it comes down to a team like, I mean, you're looking at pitching. Pitching is your problem,
right?
You know what I mean? If you can't pitch at home, then what the hell are you doing? It's 81 games out of the year where you don't stand a chance.
So then you got Greinke, who is the prize dog right now, and then after him, it's Iwakuma, Johnny Cueto, John Lackey, Doug Fister, and that's in order of WAR rating over the last 3 seasons. So who are you going to break the bank for on that list?
You don't want to break the bank on anybody. Is kind of the way I'm thinking about this.
This is a crap
you know what I mean?
market.
Like I said, you're not going to be competitive anytime soon in the West. The Diamondbacks actually proved to be more impressive last season than a lot of people had anticipated. Even though they debuted their ugly uniforms this year tonight, actually. Actually, not bad. I guess they're not ugly. They're just very different. I guess cutting edge with some of the cool flow technology of clothing. I don't know what the hell that whole thing is, but
they have their own. I mean, the Diamondbacks have their own free agent to worry about. Yolis Chacin. I don't think you can let him go at this point.
Oh no, absolutely not. And that's the thing. I mean, even Arizona, like I said, they're going places. They got a lot of things to work on. They need to find some more starting pitching and maybe a left-handed bat, but that's besides the point. When it comes down to Colorado, though, what you're looking to do is, sign guys. Hell, sign a Cliff Lee. This guy's 37 years old, coming off an injury. He wants to come back. Somebody puts, maybe every once in a while, some fans in the seats. Maybe can help some of these younger guys deal with some of the issues that they're having. But otherwise, I mean, look at guys like Doug Fister. Look at a guy like Scott Kazmir. Mike Leake. I think Mike Leake's. I think his market's going to be a little bit higher, but
Bartolo Colon. Do it, somebody. Somebody do it.
Someone's going to do it. He's 42 years old. He'll be around next year.
Somebody needs to.
But I mean, somebody needs to feed that man, so he needs to play next year. But I mean, honestly, like I said, you got guys like that. Wandy Rodriguez is out there. I don't know what he does for you, but there are names out there on the market where you can just slowly, make small acquisitions and just give you something, respectable. I mean, this is your opportunity to make that move. And I mean, it's a pretty deep pitching market, starting pitching wise. I guess maybe there's not as many names, but there's some quality names out there, and there's some good value picks where, you can sign them at a lower deal, and might be a pretty high ceiling on it. You got to find ways to flip some of these players. Look what the Cubs did. Look what the Houston Astros did. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If you're, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
No, you go ahead.
If you're a young up and coming team in need of pitching, then somebody like a Mike Leake might be someone where if you get him a little bit higher than the median, you consider that a win. And more for the fact that he's 28. All the other big names are over 30.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, obviously Lee is 37, but Kazmir, he's 31. Lee's 27. Matt Latos is out there. He's 27 years old. I mean, Kyle Loesch, everyone's giving up on him at this point. But, I mean, there are some names. But like you said, a lot of these guys are at least 30 and over. I mean, I'm looking straight up and down this list. They're all threes for the most part. You know what I mean?
Greinke's going to get, 3 years from somebody at age 32?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm going to be interested to see where Greinke lands. Because, I mean, Detroit, they already added their guy, Jordan Zimmerman, but Mike Ilitch is crazy. And who the hell knows? Maybe he gives Al Avila a little bit extra money. Says, hey, go get him. Maybe Toronto jumps in on that deal. San Francisco, they're looking for a stud. It sounds like it's between LA and San Fran at this point. But I mean, there's a lot of teams out there. I mean, who's to say the Cardinals don't sweep in and grab him right now? You know what I mean? Or Washington Nationals. I don't know. I mean, obviously he has his decision to make, and it sounds like it's between the Dodgers and San Fran. But there's always that mystery team.
Right.
You know the mystery team. It's gotten us a couple of times, especially in baseball last couple of years. You even remember Cespedes? He was one of those crazy guys. The mystery team.
Well, the Cuban Nationals, you mean? That nobody knows who's going to get them and everything?
Yeah, no. I mean, it happens all the time. Especially, I mean, even with Major League Baseball, that's been a big thing of free agency the last couple of years. It's always been, hey, these are the teams that are doing it because, word gets out on social media through Twitter and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, bloop, he's gone. Something nobody even saw.
There's got to be a better way to do that. I'm just saying. That whole process sucks.
I like that. I like the mystery team.
No, I need to, the whole fact that here we have this 16-year-old kid or 18-year-old kid, and everyone gets to just throw blind bids at the guy. No, there's got to be some kind of form of I don't know, like a Caribbean draft or something like that. I don't know.
They're working on that. They have a new collective bargaining agreement coming up soon, and that was something Rob Manfred was working on pretty hard the first time round before he became commissioner. Him and Tony Clark were working, exclusively, pretty much all along, kind of getting everything in line in terms of no tobacco stuff, this and that. Obviously, fan safety is going to come up big in this next discussions here when it comes down to it. But, yeah, that was going somewhere. Where was that going?
I just don't know.
I took myself off the rails.
Are you okay?
That's okay.
It's almost time to break anyway.
International draft. That is it. International draft. It's coming at some point. But my point is that, a lot of these guys, when you're coming through, you have to have really intense scouting where you're monitoring a lot of different things and you have a lot of different insight and you just kind of got to weed through it all. And honestly, even then, you still don't really have a good idea as to how these guys in these other countries are going to translate to American baseball. You know what I mean? The major leagues here is much different than the talent level that they're going to see anywhere, at least in terms of consistency. And so a lot of times you see guys that are dominating leagues, but it's, the quality of baseball around, that player is very low. You know what I mean? And so it's hard to make those picks, man. But like I said, that's why you think it's at some point. I think this next bargaining agreement here, we're going to see a draft come in, at least and play for some of these international guys.
I think you got to. I just don't like the way it is now. It's too. I don't want to say cheap because there's a ton of money being thrown around, but it's just it's just not. It doesn't resonate with me as a fan.
Yeah. But, it's the same thing when it comes down to fan safety. You know what I mean? That's a money thing where the owners don't want to spend the money and the players have actually used and given up other things. You know what I mean? In an attempt to get that because they don't want that on their head. And that's been documented that the players have fought to have, higher standards for fan safety. And it's just something that the owners aren't willing to do for whatever reason. But anyways, we'll get into other people's problems right now because we need to talk to Jim Saranteas, the Fantasy Greek, and we come right back here on the Johnny Bobbo Show. Hashtag your questions, AskTFG. We're going to get you your answer tonight with Jim Saranteas, Fantasy Greek, and you're listening to the Johnny Bobbo Show, LateNightSportsRadio.com.
Tell me what's a girl gotta do. Looking at the history doesn't seem to give any clue. Just when I think I understand it all, you seem to unravel some more. Ooh, I never know nobody like you. wanna make it better, but now I'm scared of looking a fool. Oh, baby, no, I've never been very good at playing it cool. Just when I think I understand it all, I find I know nothing at all. I never known nobody like you. Yeah, you keep me guessing on the fence, and now I bet
Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
It's great on speaker app and it's Van Halen. So by Greg Renoff's book, Van Halen Rising. He's got a special package he put out. I think that was an awesome guest, but who's a better guest? Our guy, Jim Saranteas, the Fantasy Greek. How are you, sir?
Johnny, I'm doing great. Happy Thanksgiving to you, since we didn't really get a chance to wish each other a happy Thanksgiving. How was your turkey day?
Oh, it was dandy. I'm still in hangover fat boy mode. I feel like I lost a lot of weight a while back, and I feel like I gained a lot of it back. And like honestly, I got pimples in weird places, man. I'm just looking fat. Yeah. I got weird pimples popping up on my face, and man, it's a bad way to go as an old guy here. You know what I mean? It's not good to have pimples as a 30-year-old man.
I don't even know what you're talking about, but okay, all right. Yeah,
it's all the crazy food, man. We had kugelas, which is a Lithuanian dish. It's grated potatoes and bacon and stuff, and it's a lot of fatty foods and greasy stuff. And I'm still in hangover mode right now from all that. Still, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah, we did Cornish hens this year. We decided to be cool about it because turkey is just too much, and Anyway, it was nice. It was nice to watch a full day of football and not have anything else to do.
Well, I mean, what do you think about that Packers game leading into this Packers game? I mean, what is going on? What is the problem with at least the Green Bay offense? I mean, that seems to be the biggest issue is not knowing what you got in Eddie Lacy and kind of is the problem Aaron Rodgers not having enough targets? I mean, obviously he's good enough to make people around him better, but he's not able to take bad players and turn them into good players. That's kind of what it seems like at this point.
Well, I think the problems for them started a few weeks back, and they started a few weeks back when, and I can't think of the exact game. It might have been this Lions team, because in essence, they were just getting to Aaron Rodgers left and right, and suddenly he looked shell-shocked. When no one was on him, no one was rushing. He looked like he felt he was being pressured, that there was somebody about ready to hit him, and he was forcing the football. I think their timing's off. Certainly now they've got all types of injuries along the offensive line. For Eddie Lacy, I mean, this whole thing about his weight is, I think, somewhat true, but somewhat ridiculous. I mean, the guy's not going to suddenly be a bad player because he put on 10 pounds. You just watch the game tonight and see they're not opening holes for the guy. They put in the backup to the backup, and they're opening up holes for the kid that anybody could run through and run for 20 yards before somebody touches him. So I can't say it's all on Eddie Lacy, because Eddie Lacy had 2 good games in a row. I mean, there's just no reason for that. So Devontae Adams isn't helping him. He needs to catch the football every time it's thrown to him. So he still has a lot of work to do between now and his third year as a pro. So the rest of it is they lock up Randall Cobb, put their best guy on him. We've got a bunch of young cornerbacks that have suddenly become very good players, including Darius Slay for the Lions. Look at the Bears secondary. I mean, look at their entire defense. There's only 3 teams that have held Aaron Rodgers in check in that whole Packers offense. And we could add I suppose you could add the Lions would be the third team, but the other 2 are the 49ers and the Bears. And the thing that they have in common, they were either coached by or currently coached by Vic Fangio.
Yep.
And that man's got that whole Green Bay Packers offense under his thumb. He knows exactly what to throw at these guys, and they have no answer for it. In a few weeks, I wouldn't be surprised if Green Bay's sitting in third place in the division. So, I mean, I think that's the best you can make of it. If you're a Green Bay Packers fan, I think you kind of have to be really concerned here, because just a few injuries to a few players, and the whole team's off. Jordy Nelson's not there. I would think things would be different with him. Certainly, if Aaron Rodgers was out, the whole team would be they would be awful. They would not be a good football team by your normal NFL standards. So, there's a few things that they're going to have to work on this offseason. Their next man up is, I don't know who that is, because the next man up is not necessarily doing a great job.
Yeah, and now let me ask you this, kind of off topic of at least fantasy real quick. Fangio and Gase, are they out of town now? I mean, obviously, John Fox put together a great coaching staff, and that's kind of what's kept the Bears, I think, at least in contention here, where at least they're putting guys in positions where they're able to win, and at least kind of learn a little bit better, I guess. But I mean, do you see those guys both gone this year? Is that going to be a problem for them in the offseason?
That's hard to say. Certainly, there are teams looking for head coaches, and there probably are going to be several. They're going to be candidates. I would hope that. I hope they stay, and I hope they stay because I don't know Vic Fangio, so I can't tell you how he would be as a head coach. But he certainly, in my mind, is a very good defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And some coordinators are not meant to be head coaches. Adam Gase, I'm not sure that he's ready. I look at him and I go, this kid's younger than me, and I'm looking at him, and sometimes he looks lost on the sidelines. To be completely honest, and as a head coach, you can't look lost. You have to look like you know what's going on, or you should look like Lovie Smith, who kind of never is very impassionate constantly, so you really never know what's going on.
Yeah. Well,
but that's not Adam Gase.
No, it's not. And he's a young guy, but how about an old guy here? We're going to hit your waiver wire real quick on the fantasygreek.com. Check them out. Week 13. Free fantasy football advice for you right there. Good stuff. And, say you need a quarterback. Look at a guy like Matt Hasselbeck, 40 years old. He's gone 4-0 since Andrew Luck has been gone. 315 yards, 2 touchdowns against Tampa Bay Week 12. Is Hasselbeck prime for another big, performance going up against Pittsburgh? 38th ranked run defense, 283.6 yards a game that they've been allowing to this point. What are you doing with Matt Hasselbeck?
Well, I think you're starting him in 14 or 16 team leagues as a low-end QB1. In 10 or 12 teams, you can view him as a player that, if you've got Drew Brees, I would start Matt Hasselbeck first. Matt Hasselbeck is walking into a matchup where, on paper, and in the way it should play out, is the Steelers will lock down the Colts running game, which will force the Colts to throw the football. And that's all they're going to be able to do. So at a minimum, you're looking at 250 yards and 2 TDs for Hasselbeck, which makes him a perfect QB1 in fantasy football in any format. But he's got a little more upside because I really think that Ben Roethlisberger can walk in there and just destroy this Colts pass defense, put up several touchdowns on him. So that's going to force him to even throw the football more. So I do like Matt Hasselbeck this week. And I like Colts wide receivers. I like the Steelers wide receivers. I like D'Angelo Williams. I just don't like Frank Gore. I think you got to sit him.
And now, how about this guy, Ryan Fitzpatrick, quarterback of the Jets, going up against the Giants? And, he's been more of a consistent producer than, a lot of people initially thought. Passing for 20-plus touchdowns, 4 alone against, what was it, the Dolphins last week for 227 yards. Do you think Fitzpatrick's going to continue down the same path going up against the Giants? 32nd ranked run pass defense. My apologies. They've allowed at this point 309.2 yards per game.
Yeah, Fitzmagic is primed for a big game too. I mean, we saw what he did last week. You've got to credit Fitzpatrick for doing something that I think people forget. Football, just like anything else in life, is about getting better at your craft. He is in the second time in the same offense run by Chan Gailey, and he has just mastered it now. And what's helping him is he's surrounded by some great offensive playmakers, Chris Ivory as his running back and a guy that he could throw the football to, but more so Brandon Marshall, who remains a consistent passing threat, a guy that every single game threatens for multiple TDs. Eric Decker, another player that you could put almost in that same category, in a couple years should be sort of another Brandon Marshall. So everything's come together for him. Certainly the matchup is great. Giants giving up 309 yards per game, most in the NFL. They're a little more stingier in terms of the amount of TDs that they allow at 20 on the season. But this is the kind of game, I mean, a guy like Fitzpatrick throwing to Marshall, throwing to Decker, he's in line too for 250 and 2, which is a little bit better than his normal 241 and 1. And he could even push for a third touchdown. So I do like him this week. He's just like Matt Hasselbeck. He's a guy that in 14 or 16 team leagues, he's a low QB1. In 10 to 12 team leagues, you can play him if your primary quarterback has a really bad matchup this week.
Yeah, and now how about, when you're looking at your waiver wire here, you're looking at running backs. Another guy that kind of stood out to me, Sean Drawn of the 49ers at the Bears. 3 straight games with exactly 20 touches, has reached at least 77 yards in each of those games. Does Drawn become, the next running back to run all over the Bears, who basically they've allowed 128.5 yards per game, which is 29th in the league. But, the Bears have been getting by a lot with letting teams run all over them and still somehow finding ways to win games. Is Sean Drawn going to have a big game here?
I think he will. I have him as a solid RB2 this week. First off, he's very quietly put together just a really nice resume of games. He's played in 3 games. He gets somewhere around 20 to 25 touches per game. In non-PPR leagues, I think in all formats, in 3 weeks he's been a top 16 running back. In PPR leagues, in 2 of those 3 weeks, he's been a top 10 or top 5. I mean, he's been really good. And then when you look at him against the Bears, I mean, the only thing he hasn't done is score touchdowns. But at 20 to 25 touches per game, just like Devontae Adams being targeted so heavily, eventually you're going to get into the end zone. So now he goes against a Bears team that on average in the past 3 weeks has given up about 135 rush yards per game, giving up about 40 receiving yards per game, and this is all to the running back position. And then in 3 games add in a rushing TD and add in a passing TD. So Sean Drawn is in the right place at the right time, and I think this is the weekend that he'll actually get a touchdown and really come through for fantasy owners that play him.
Yeah, and now this is a guy that you have on your sits list. This kind of is one of your notables, but you also had him on your waiver pick here. Stevie Johnson of the Chargers going up against the Broncos, and it seems like he's taking over the primary receiver slot. Knowing that he had at least 3 straight games with at least 7 receptions. But I mean, should at least fantasy owners maybe limit expectations a little bit and maybe potentially even sit Johnson week 13 going up against the Broncos that are ranked first against the pass? Because I'm not sure I'd even start anybody going up against the Broncos right now.
It's tricky. Well, first of all, he was mentioned in the waiver wire report because, as we indicated, it's to our surprise that he is still available in some leagues. Some people have not picked this guy up, even though he's getting 18 to let's see, what do we got here? I don't know. I think he's getting 8 to 12 targets per game since Keenan Allen has been out. He finally breaks through, has himself a nice game with 100-some yards, and yet there he is. He's on the waiver wire. So if you're looking to go to the playoffs, this is a guy you need to pick off the waiver wire and have him on your bench because there should be opportunities to play him. This particular weekend against the Broncos, he is on our, I won't say sit him necessarily, but I will say can be sat. So personally, I think you should sit him because he's going to have the top DB. It's either going to be Aqib Talib or the other fellow, I forget his name right now, covering him. Somebody's going to cover Antonio Gates, and this will be a tough game for the Chargers. So if I have a stable of wide receivers, I'm looking for the guys with the best matchups. He just doesn't seem to have it this week, so I would look to try to sit him first. If I had another guy, I could play ahead of him with some confidence.
Okay, and now let's say you have Tyrod Taylor on your team. He's your quarterback of the Bills going up against the Texans at home. 3 subpar games in a row, before Week 12's performance, 291 yards, 46 rushing, 3 touchdowns, and, it seems like maybe there's a little bit of a glimmer of hope there, but is Tyrod Taylor going to stack up well against the Texans' third-ranked pass defense, knowing they've only allowed 1 touchdown in the last 4 games?
No. No, you're not playing Tyrod Taylor this week. In fact, I'm not even sure that he's going to play. He has actually missed practice because of his shoulder. So it does not bode well for him. But even if he were active, there's no way. Keith and I talked about this the other night. For me, the Texans are a defense that they're on a roll. And in 3 games straight, they've held, and I'm pulling up some numbers for them right now, but I believe in 3 of those 4 games, they've held their opponents to 6 points. Something like that.
Yeah, that's something. And
yeah,
now,
it's 6-6, 17, and 6. So I don't want to go against this team.
yeah, right. Well, how about DeMarco Murray, running back of the Eagles, going up at the Patriots? He's struggling. After having found his way briefly for weeks 5 through 9, he's only amassed 94 combined yards over the last 2 games, and has a tough matchup week 13. Would you bother starting DeMarco Murray this week?
Well, would I bother starting him? If you have to start him, you have to start him. He is this week more of an RB2 going up against the Patriots rush defense that before last week was number 2 against the rush. I want to say they weren't even giving up an average of 100 rushing yards per game, not even 4 TDs on the season, or maybe it was 4 TDs on the season. But whatever the number was, it was not good. But then last week, C.J. Anderson goes out there and just runs roughshod all over them. Now, turning to this week, I still view them as a number 2 rushing defense despite what happened last week. You've got an Eagles pass defense that is struggling. So my thought is, the Patriots are coming out to stop DeMarco Murray. But he's going to be their offense too. So he's a guy that you kind of have to take the good with the bad. He's an RB2. And that's the way I would view him, and I would start him that way.
All right, well, let me get personal with you here, Jim. What if you have DeMarco Murray, okay? You said, hey, got to start him. What if he's going up against Latavius Murray of the Raiders versus the Chiefs at home? And he's only reached 60 yards once in his last 4 games, averaging 3.6 yards per carry. And it seems like his struggles are going to continue against the Chiefs defense. They're kind of coming up here, surging, and they've only allowed 12.2 points per game in their 5-game win streak. Who are you picking there? Are you picking DeMarco or Latavius Murray?
I'm taking DeMarco Murray. Again, back to the point that he's going to be the focus of that Eagles offense. And to me, that easily outweighs Latavius Murray, who he's not the focus of the Raiders' offense. He did have a huge game against the Chiefs last year, as you might recall. It was actually his coming out party. It was the first game he was basically given the start over Darren McFadden and what's his name? Wasn't Maurice Jones-Drew still there last year? I think so. Yeah. And he just tore up the Chiefs. Could that happen again? Sure. But the way he's been playing and the way the defense for the Chiefs has been, it just doesn't ooze of that much confidence. So I would go with DeMarco Murray.
Yeah, and now how about we'll keep on running backs here before we switch to wide receivers. But Todd Gurley of the Rams against the Cardinals, it seems like he's heading the same direction the rest of the team is, in the wrong one. Gurley hasn't passed 100 yards since week 8, and it doesn't appear Gurley sizes up well against the Cardinals' 4th-ranked run defense. What are you going to do with a guy like Gurley this week?
Well, you're going to start him because he's a big play running back who is usually good for a TD. The question is, how many yards is he going to get? And, this is a Cardinals defense that it's been pretty stout the past 5 games. They've only allowed one 100-plus yard rusher, and that was to the Seahawks. I assume, without having the box score in front of me, that it was Marshawn Lynch, but obviously could have been Thomas Rawls. But either case, this is Todd Gurley. I don't know how you bench him in any single format. You may view him as an RB2, but, you'd have to have quite the grouping of running backs to look at Todd Gurley and say, I'm going to bench him this week.
Yeah, and this is kind of maybe one of the difficult picks, I think, for a lot of people. Is, you have Stephon Diggs, wide receiver of the Vikings, at home going against the Seattle Seahawks. They've only, Stephon Diggs has only had 31 yards on 4 receptions in Week 12, giving him an average of 46.3 yards per game and 0 touchdowns in his last 4 games. Do you think things are going to get any better for Diggs going up against the Seahawks? He's not going to have the Richard Sherman assignment, I wouldn't think.
Oh, see, I think Richard Sherman will be on him. And
you do? Okay.
Oh, yeah. He's their number 1 wide receiver, it's not Mike Wallace, that's for sure. I mean, you could look at Mike Wallace's stats, and I'm not even sure that he's being targeted five times a game anymore. So, Stephon Diggs is a guy to bench.
Yeah, because see, the one thing that kind of maybe had me, double guess that was, Sherman with at least Diggs. He lines up typically on the left. You know what I mean? You still think they're going to give that assignment to Sherman, though, even though he's a right side guy?
Whatever. Whoever they put on him. I'm telling you, Stephon Diggs is not a guy to play this week.
All right, well, how about some starts here? Jarvis Landry, wide receiver of the Dolphins, going up against the Baltimore Ravens. 76 receptions through 11 games at this point. Favorable matchup week 13 against the Ravens. Suspect secondary. Knowing the Ravens are going to have a problem with the Dolphins' vertical attack. 51 passing yards of over 20 yards. What do you think fantasy owners can expect in week 13 from Jarvis Landry?
I think they can expect Jarvis Landry to have one of the best fantasy performances in the league. They're going up against a Ravens pass defense that has been just awful. I'll give you some numbers. Ravens are giving up 258 yards per game, 21 TDs on the season. They give up the third most fantasy points to wide receivers.
Yikes.
Jarvis Landry should just have a tremendously good game.
Yeah, you know who else should probably have a tremendous game, I'm thinking, is Andy Dalton, quarterback of the Bengals at the Browns. The Browns, I mean, that defense is tough. And, with multiple touchdowns in 8 games this season, it seems like Andy Dalton's facing a pretty favorable matchup here against the Browns defense. They struggled against the pass, particular week 9 against Dolphins, 234 yards against Dalton, 234 yards, 3 touchdowns. Is there any more of a sure thing than Andy Dalton this week against the Browns?
Only Cam Newton. There might be a second quarterback, but Andy Dalton's going to be a top 5 guy this week. If you have him, you start him. And maybe Ben Roethlisberger might have a better game. I think Cam Newton will have a better game. But outside of those guys, I'm trying to think who else would. The list is short.
Yeah, and
Tom Brady will have a better game.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, kind of sticking with the Cam Newton thing here. I mean, you got a guy like Jonathan Stewart, running back of the Panthers, going up on the road at the Saints. 20 touches in 7 straight games, and it seems like Chico kind of has the right formula here for Stewart. And I don't think he's likely to deviate from that plan in Week 13 against the Saints defense, who's allowed an average of 30.8 points per game.
Hey, who's Chico? Who's Chico?
Chico Ron Rivera. Oh, come on now! You don't know that
Who
one?
calls him Chico?
Oh man, that's his inside name. You gotta know him. Give him that nickname. But
okay, all right.
I don't know him all that well, but I'm just gonna pretend like I do.
Okay. So go ahead. Sorry, I just thought that was funny.
What do you think? I mean, is it a good idea to keep rolling with Stewart here? He's gonna have a pretty good game. You think?
It's going to be huge. This is a Saints rush pass defense that has been horrible. They're giving up the yards, whether it be rush, pass. Jonathan Stewart, top 5 start this week.
All right, and Deshaun Jackson, wide receiver of the Redskins, at home going up against the Cowboys. He missed 6 straight games with a hamstring injury. Kind of got hot after scoring a touchdown of 55 yards or more in consecutive games here. Seeing the Cowboys have struggled, giving up 42 yards passing, or actually 42 passing plays of 20-plus yards. Is this going to be Deshaun Jackson's biggest game of the season?
No, there's no way. I would be really stunned. Could he have a great game? Yeah, but this is a Cowboys pass defense that in the past 2 games has given up a total of 305 passing yards. 3 against Tampa Bay, they allowed just 10 points. Philly, they gave up 33 points the week before to Seattle, 13. I think the Monday night game is going to be low scoring. It should be a defensive battle. There's just Deshaun Jackson at best is a wide receiver 3, and he's going to come through for you if he can do exactly what you pointed out. But if you have Deshaun Jackson on your team, my guess is that you probably made it through the season without him, and that you've just been sort of picking the right times to, plug and play him. And I'd say this weekend's not the right time.
Okay, and our last couple questions here with Jim Saranteas, the Fantasy Greek of thefantasygreek.com, at the Fantasy Greek on Twitter. We're looking at tight ends here. We got a guy like Delaney Walker of the Titans at home going against the Jaguars. Past 4 games, has racked up 24 receptions of 347 yards, 2 touchdowns. Do you expect similar production Week 13 against the same Jaguars he torched for 109 yards on 8 receptions just 2 weeks ago?
I expect him to be productive. And I forget if I have him in the top 5 or just outside the top 5. But Julius Thomas, these are actually the game itself is a tight end friendly game. So they're both startable. Delaney Walker's actually been a good play for the last 3 weeks, and I wouldn't treat him any differently. If he's been your guy, then keep rolling with him. If you might have a different tight end to play ahead of him, I mean, I suppose you could. Certainly, Travis Kelce, I think, has a better matchup. Scott Chandler, I think, has a better. Well, not a matchup, but because of their roles and their offenses, they should be better plays. Definitely, Kelce has the better matchup, though. So.
Yeah, and now another tight end that had a pretty big week against an opponent that he's going to be facing this week here. We have Jacob Tamme, tight end of the Falcons at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Over the last 4 games, he's totaled 22 receptions for 249 yards and a touchdown. Ripped the Bucs week 8 for 10 receptions on 103 yards and a touchdown. Another repeat performance here from Jacob Tamme?
Put it this way, it's going to depend, and it's largely going to depend on whether or not Leonard Hankerson is active for the game. Leonard Hankerson has been injured and or out since week 7. He came back last week. Tamme had an okay game, but otherwise it seems to align with the fact that Hankerson is inactive.
Okay.
In the games that he's done well. So I think what's basically happening is he's picking up some of his targets. Could he still have a good game regardless? Yeah. But, I think he's a better play if Hankerson is inactive.
All right. Well, how about this, Jim? Where can we find the inactives here? Yeah, obviously, I know you post something every week here. Where's the best place for people to check this stuff out?
Sure. Every Sunday, actually, I posted Saturday night to sort of get it out there so it makes its way onto the internet. But if you would come by Sunday morning, starting at 10:30, we post an article at the very top of the website that will be entitled "The Week 13 Injury Report, Inactives, and Starts and Sits." And what we do is we update that article with as inactives come out. We keep updating that article. It's so far been accurate to every player, not just fantasy offense players, but defense players too. We'll post fantasy alerts, and usually what we'll do is the night before, we've already got some idea of what's going on with some of the players, so we'll have little sentences and paragraphs by the games pointing out to you players who might be inactive and other players, or who we're expecting to be inactive, and other players that could take their place, or players that we're kind of waiting, we're kind of hoping that they're going to be active. And then to keep updating that all day. And so as people get injured, not every single injury. I mean, the guy on special teams gets hurt, we're not going to point that out. But, if like, for example, last week, the Rob Gronkowski thing kept us busy.
Yeah.
There were a couple games that kept us really busy. And so we'll put that, and we'll update that on Monday after the games are over with updates on the injuries from Sunday. So you can keep looking at the same article, keep coming to the same one for a couple days straight and get all your information to prepare you for the game and as the games are going on.
That's because you're Jim Saranteas, the Fantasy Greek of thefantasygreek.com. You take care of business, and we appreciate having you on, Jim.
Thanks, Johnny. And let me, for probably the last time this year, to the listeners out there, please come check out our Skybox subscription. It's never too late, especially if you're looking to go to the playoffs. You're going to want to sign up to it, get our fantasy points allowed, so every week you can get an idea, a good idea of what your player's matchup looks like. Every single week you will get a game preview for every single game with every start, sit, risk plays, and more importantly, the explanation of why they're a start, sit, or a risk play. And that way you can get a better handle on your team. And lastly, and most importantly, by subscribing, you'll be given access to send an email with your lineup, the positions you need filled. Get it to us by 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on Friday, and on Saturday we'll give you the lineup we think you should play, and in that way we can be your second opinion for your fantasy football instinct.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jim. We appreciate you having on this year, and hopefully bring you back in the new year here.
You betcha, Johnny. Thanks, and everybody have a great weekend.
All right, be good. And that's our guy, Jim Saranteas of thefantasygreek.com. Find him at the Fantasy Greek on Twitter. Hashtag it AskTFG. And like I said, get that Skybox subscription because you know you need it. And when we come back here, we're going to talk to emo prince in the Midwest, Coty, VanCura. He's going to break down the top albums of 2015 right here on the Johnny Bobbo Show on Late Night Sports Radio and Spreaker apps.
Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
Yeah, welcome on in to the Johnny Bobbo Show on Late Night Sports Radio on your Spreaker app. Check us out there. And we got our guy, Coty VanCura of Coty's Q. Check it out on Facebook. Also, you're what? You're Francois VanCura these days on
Francois.
Facebook? What? Did I say it wrong? Francois, yeah. Did I say something different?
No, you said I was just saying it with you. I thought we could say it in unison.
Oh, okay. Look at that. He's a nice guy, Coty. We like to get things going. Nice little groove here. So let me ask you, Coty. You know, we brought in a bunch of bands. I got to tell my guy, and most importantly, your guy of Double Feature, Kyle Back. He came and dropped off an album for me, a bunch of stickers. I love their logo, so I got the sticker on my book and everything like that. So it's all good. But got to thank those guys and thank you for bringing them on. This released a new album. Too late to make it on the top 50 of 2015, I'm sure. But let me ask you, Coty, what are some of your favorite albums of the 2015 here?
All right, buddy. I'm going to have to preface this where I'm not going to necessarily name the top 5 best albums of
You don't have
2015.
to. No.
I want to just tell you the top 5 albums I've listened to the most in 2015 that I thought, in my opinion, have really exceeded expectations.
Okay, fork it over, buddy boy.
All right. So, number 5. Number 5 has a prejudice to it. It's the new Bell and Sebastian album. It's called. It's a really long name too, my dude. It is Bell and Sebastian, Girls in Peacetime Want to Dance. So this all has prejudice with me. What?
Why is that?
All right, so they've been one of my favorite bands since I've been 13, and like over the years, like so their first album, Tiger Milk, it was a pop album, it was a pop classic, and then over the course of like 20 years, they've gone from a pop band to like a 60s jangle rock band, kind of like Herman's Hermits, to now they're doing disco music. So it's been this weird progression over the years for them. And they've hit their stride multiple times where they've put out like 3 really good albums, then like switched genres, put out like 2 bad albums, put out like another good album, put out a bad album, and right now they put out Girls in Peacetime Just Want to Dance, which I think is one of their best albums to date. It's really fun to dance to. It's not pop like how they used to be. It's just a really good dance album.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I was kind of iffy on that album, to be honest with you, because I was big. I don't know. Some of their, I guess, some of their slower stuff, I guess, was cool with me.
Right.
But for whatever reason, I don't know. It seemed like maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe they're trying too hard or something. You know what I mean? To have a different sound is kind of the way it came off to me. So I wasn't really too sure how to feel about all.
See, that's what I like about it, because like they've always been evolving the sound, and they've always stick to pop, but they've gone from pop to pop rock and now to like pop disco. So they've always had the pop mentality behind them.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Well, I mean, so what was
also, it's also the only album I've bought this year that I bought it the day it came out, and it's the only album I've done this year.
Wow, that's pretty impressive because your music's...
Dude, I had to go to Oak Lawn to some janky ass record store and paid $45 for it.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Do they even know who Bell and Sebastian are in Oak Lawn?
I don't think so, but it was a double LP, 180 gram. I think it was worth it. I don't know. I probably got ripped off.
Yeah, that's fine. All right. Well, what's your second album here of the year?
Number 4 would be Like Wild, which a few years ago started off as like, a mediocre emo band, and now they're going the same way as Bell and Sebastian and moving towards a new, like not necessarily disco, but like more dance poppy sound.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, no, it's really good. Like you listen to their earlier stuff and now the new album, Heatwave, it sounds completely different. So it's another band where you could see the progression from, being stuck in one type of music and like getting categorized in that and then wanting to move out. So Like Wild did a really good job. So that's number 4.
Okay. And well, how about Donovan Wolvington? Yeah, How to Treat the Ones You Love. What do you think about that album this year?
All right. Donovan was the only band on this list that I got to see this year. I've brought a lot of emo bands on in the past year.
Yes.
Out of all the new emo bands coming out, this is probably my favorite. They got a really good sound where they're mixing like, Midwest emo with melodic hardcore. They put on a really good show. They're all a bunch of young kids. They're like 23 to 25. And everything they put out is very consistent. They're really good kids. They're probably going to come to town again in April or May.
Okay. And now, what record label are they lined up with? Anybody big, or are they still kind of trying to fight to make it right now?
I know they've released some stuff. I'm not sure the label, but you could find everything on Bandcamp.
Okay, that's cool, man. And now tell me what's the next one here? With Kendrick Lamar, To Pimp a Butterfly.
We talked about this earlier in the year about Kendrick, how he's bringing hip hop to be more political again. So, I don't listen to that much hip hop, but when I do, this one really stood out for me because you could look at Kanye and Jay-Z, where their latest releases last year were all about fashion and girls and all of that, and now Kendrick dropped To Pimp a Butterfly, which is a huge the entire album is a political anthem about young black youth rising up. That's super important now with all the, police brutality cases. So this one isn't, about this is a jammer album. This is a socially political, important album to listen to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think, that's something that, maybe it's just kind of the connotation that's come with it, as of recently. But, it never really seemed like there was as much political, topics in terms of a lot of the rap, at least that I've heard. You know what I mean? A lot of the mainstream stuff. There's, maybe the entire album and the stuff that doesn't make it to the radio isn't, necessarily political or can be political. But, when it comes down to the things that I hear, the general public that doesn't, go out there and buy rap albums and everything else, I guess maybe some of that stuff gets mixed and you don't necessarily think that it's out there. So that is out there. Is he the only one that's doing that right now?
I mean, there's a lot of people who are doing that. Flatbush Zombies or Flatbush Zombies are doing it. There's a lot of younger hip-hop groups who are doing hyper-political rap. And you just have to look for it. The mainstream hip-hop will tell you that, Kanye and Jay-Z and, Fetty Wap, and, that's who's at the forefront of hip-hop, but it's not. Underground hip-hop is hugely political.
Yeah, and, okay. Well, what is your number one?
Number one, we've talked about this one as well. I'm going to have to go back to my number one album of 2014, which was 1989 by Taylor Swift. Number one album of 2015 is the cover album, 1989 by Ryan Adams.
Which our guy Keith Grieve led us into from our first break, I believe. Was that right, Keith?
Ding, ding.
Ding, ding. Yeah. And one of the things that Keith had mentioned is that, I guess he made the music a little bit more relatable for the male audience, which is something that
the argument was he mansplained it. People have been saying he's making Taylor Swift's music accessible for men. Well, in a way he is, because I love Taylor Swift. I know a lot of dudes who won't listen to her just because she's a girl pop singer, but they'll listen to the Ryan Adams version because it's awesome. Her songwriting is so well done, and she's conveying so many emotions that everyone feels. And I think Ryan Adams really explored the issue of everyone feels the same about love and heartbreak. And it's cool that you could listen to his version and not even know it was written by Taylor Swift, and then be oh wow, Taylor Swift wrote that. So I think just that album as a social experiment was really cool. But musically, it's has tinges of Bruce Springsteen I hear on it. It's really well done. I think it's the best album in the past 20 years. I'm going to put that down on money right now.
I'm sure he'd love to hear that. And like I said, I'm with you. You know what I mean? I always thought he was going to be that guy where he'd be able to bridge that gap between country and mainstream rock or pop or whatever the hell you want to call it.
Yeah, alternative country and pop. Yeah.
Yeah, he's done so much, and I just think that it would bring a whole new audience to country. I mean, it just doesn't seem like they're welcome to the idea because you don't hear Ryan Adams. You know what I mean, at country stations, and I think you listen to half his catalog, more than not, you're gonna be looking, oh yeah, that's country. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just a little bit harder, I think, than a lot of the country stuff that people are used to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but here, So maybe that was your tops, but a few that I noticed you left out, most notably your guy, Mr. Drake. If you're not reading this, it's too late. So tell me a little bit about that. How come Drake didn't make it on your top list here?
Yo, dude, no, that album is fine. It's fine. I like that album. I like Drake.
Fine's not good.
I've heard
She's
Hotel
fine.
Bling way too many times to count now, where I cannot hear his voice. Like, just his voice grates on me from hearing Hotel Bling so much now.
I'm glad that's happened to you because you're so high on the man, and I never got it. I'm glad.
Well, I'm out of it now, so.
Well, that's good. How about Florence and the Machine, though? How big, how bold, or how big, how blue, how beautiful? That's a lot of B's and H's involved. What did you think about that? She was gone for 3 years, and she ended up getting together with the producer Marcus Draves. That was a guy. Worked with Bjork. He worked with Arcade Fire, Mumford Sons. This guy's kind of been around for quite a bit and was able to kind of, I don't know, I guess maybe highlight her voice, Welch's voice a little bit better.
I finally actually listened to the entire album all the way through a few days ago at work.
It's good. I like it.
And all I could say about it is it sounds like Florence and the Machine. Like, it doesn't sound anything different than their prior efforts.
Yeah, I think it did a little bit. I guess maybe
the production sounds a lot better, but I'm not saying like they didn't do anything different in their music.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I guess maybe there was a little bit more, at least in my terms, where I think she did focus a little bit more on the lyrics. You know what I mean? Her songwriting, I think, improved quite a bit. You know what I mean? Even though, and probably one of the biggest things that I noticed about that album is there's so many different Florences that you hear throughout the song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the way that Draves was able to, record her several different times singing the same thing and kind of blending them all together is really what added like an extra feature to that album, at least from my perspective. Because
no, I get that. I also thought the album artwork was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm
much better than their last album.
Right. And how about Alabama Shakes? Sound and Color. The first album came out is ripping like a bitch, man. It was loud, fun, is old school blues, this Southern revival thing going on, and this album, at least similar in the Southern soul stuff that was going on in the previous album, but it seems like maybe they slowed it down a little bit. You know what I mean?
I actually prefer their new album. We've talked about this band as well. A lot of people thought this was going to be like not a one-hit wonder, but like a one-album wonder, where they were never going to top their first album because it was so good. I actually prefer their sophomore effort, their new album, because I think like since they did slow down on their third release, which is probably going to come out next year and a half, like the options for where they're going to go musically are limitless. They could do anything right now.
Yeah, and how about a band like Wilco? Okay, they came out with an album, Star Wars. I don't know if that was planned.
Hated it, dude. I did not like it at all, and I like Wilco.
Yeah, and I was kind of there too. You know what I mean? And and I guess people kind of knocked their last couple albums. You know what I mean? At least talking about how it just didn't seem like there was just something missing. You know what I mean? And that was kind of what a lot of people said. And that was, the opposite of what I felt. I felt those albums were still good. They're still Wilco. And, much like you were talking about Florence, where you hear that same sound, Wilco's always had that sound. They've evolved a little bit, but they've always been able to do it well because of well-written songs, and pretty catchy, at least melodies, and a lot of some of the dronier Sonic Youth kind of stuff that they do too. I've been able to really appreciate, and I just felt like, see, this is the album, you know what I mean, out of the other ones that kind of missed it for me, and I was really amped up for that one.
All right, this is a pretty unpopular opinion, but I'm going to throw it out. Wilco right now for me is the indie rock Nickelback.
Oh God, don't say that.
Not saying that I don't like Wilco. I'm just saying Nickelback, every album, they have a formula. And, they took out,
formula, yeah.
They have a formula. And now it's like Wilco has a formula, and they're going to do the same thing over and over again. The last 4 Wilco albums, they've been good, but they've been Wilco albums. There hasn't been any change to them, and that's what I'm disappointed about. Like, I want them to do something new, but then again, if they do something new, are they going to, like, eliminate any fans? I don't know.
Yeah, no, that might be a cause of it. And, you know, this is a band, okay, now moving on here a little bit. An old band, you know, talking about losing fans, you know, maybe their fans are still alive, hopefully. New Order, new album called Music Complete. Were you able to give a listen to that one? And what'd you kind of feel about them coming back? Because I've always been a big Joy Division fan. You know what I mean? And there's a few New Order songs that, you know, that I like that maybe I didn't realize were by New Order. You know what I mean? Initially, and then I kind of got delved into their discography a little bit and kind of learned a little bit more about the band. But how did you feel about Music Complete?
I'm going to be honest with you, Johnny. I haven't listened to it. I refuse to listen to new wave albums produced after '89. I've tried with The Cure. I tried with the last Depeche Mode album. I can't do it. It makes me sad. I'm not going to listen to the New Order because it's going to depress me. I wish I could be into it, but like the sound was so good in the '80s, and then it did not transfer over into the '90s. It did not transfer into the 2000s, and right now in 2015, it's still not lost. Transferring over. They don't know how to, you know, bring their sound over now. You know, they should stick with the like low quality production and not. What happened with Depeche Mode was I forgot what their album in like 2009 was, but it was terrible because it was so highly produced. Same with The Cure, and I'm sure it's going to be the same with New Order. Yeah,
no, I'm with you on that. And maybe one of the albums I didn't feel that was as overly produced, which is kind of interesting considering the fact that one of the band members has gotten pretty popular. Carrie Brownstein, Brownstein, you got it. Sleater Kinney, No Cities to Love, new album. They've been gone for a while. I watched their last show when they played Lollapalooza here in Chicago. And, man, let me tell you something. I was excited they're back. I thought that was a great album. Didn't lose much touch from what they had before. But you know, somehow they've been a band that's constantly been changing their sound. I mean, it's similar, but there's still differences, at least in the way those songs are structured, and even a lot of different vocals. Because, you know, with it being an all-girls band, you know, there's a bunch. Everybody can sing. You know what I mean? And I feel like they really were able to bring that out in this new album.
No, it was great. I actually really love that album.
And now, did you get much into Tame and Paula at all? It seemed like they've kind of been taking the world by storm here, at least overseas and Europe. They've been huge, and I feel like they made a little bit more of a wave this year than they did in years past. Tame and Paula, new album, Currents. Came out, Let It Happen. I thought was a really awesome song. That was their number one single off it to start off 2015. Really is when it came out, and nearly 8 minutes long. And honestly, I got to tell you, man, I love that song, and that whole album is actually pretty good. I listened to that.
It's really good. It took me a while to get into them, but you know, every couple of years the whole psychedelic rock thing comes back. You know, Animal Collective did it a few years ago, and now Tame Impala are doing it, and they're doing it so well.
Yeah, because there was a difference. Because I never really got into Animal Collective. There were a few songs of theirs that I enjoyed, and then, you know, one of our friends, Matt, he's a big Animal Collective fan because they're such one of those weird bands out there. A lot of reverb and you know, just a lot of you know, songs without lyrics and stuff like that. I don't know. It was kind of hard to catch on to them. You know what I mean? And like you said,
I'd say Tame Impala is a lot more accessible to like the average music listener.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and how about Sufjan Stevens? Right before we let you go here, Coty, of Coty's Q. Check it out on Facebook. And by the way, we're gonna get to this in a minute. Let's wrap up here. Sufjan Stevens, Carrie and Lowell, his new album. You know, 2010 he put out a new a disc, Age of Ads, and I don't know. It kind of feel like he turned off maybe some of his bigger fans. You know what I mean? Because there wasn't really guitars, and you know, kind of flipped it out for some of the banjos and synth things that were popular at the time. How do you feel he recovered on this new album?
Sufjan's such a weird guy. Like, it's so hard to judge
He doesn't
his
even
music.
own a guitar. Did you know that? The man doesn't own a damn guitar.
What?
He doesn't own a guitar. He
No.
plays his studio instruments.
Yeah.
Whatever's there is what he uses.
Wait, Johnny, have you heard his Christmas album?
Oh, yes. I'm very familiar with Sufjan.
Awesome. Yeah, I was going to burn it for you, but if you already have it, everything he does, it's different. Like, you know, he has so much ambition in him that, like, I think he gets, like, you know, too worked up sometimes, and what he wants to produce doesn't sound as good as what he thinks he's producing.
Yeah, as what he has envisioned. Yeah, no, that's a tough thing to do.
With the whole 50 states project, you got Illinois and Michigan, and he just quit.
Said, yeah, I'm done with this. No, that was a bad idea. That's okay.
Yeah,
So
and also
bad ideas.
he did the Chinese calendar album too. Have you heard that one? Because like that's even weirder than the new one.
No, I did not hear that one.
Oh, it's a song for every animal on the Chinese New Year calendar or whatever. It's very bizarre.
I'm an ox. I hope that was a good album.
It's weird. Sufjan's a weird guy.
So,
get him on the show. Let's talk to him.
Oh, he's an Illinois guy. We'll bring him on. We'll bring on Sufjan. You can interview him, but you know, by the time we bring him on, you better decide on a name here for your segment, Coty. You don't like Coty's Q. What do you got, man? You got to come up with something new here because I'm going to make.
I actually did come up with it tonight.
You did come up with it?
Jerk off jam session.
Oh God, I don't think we can do that. This all of a sudden
you can't do it.
The last minute of the show, all of a sudden we get a red rectangle. That's okay. That's all good. It's all good. All right. Well, we'll think about that. We might have to tweak that a little bit, I think, Coty. Yeah, you got it, man. But no, really, man, I love you, and you put up great stuff. I post a little bit on your page, but you do quite a bit too. So everybody check up on that. Coty's Q on Facebook. Otherwise, just find him, Francois VanCura, on the Facebooks. How about it, buddy, right?
All right, dude. It was good talking to you guys.
You got it. Thanks for coming on, brother, man. We appreciate it.
All right, you guys have a good night.
All right, be good. And that's our guy, Coty VanCura. Otherwise, Francois VanCura on the Facebook. Also, check out Coty's Q. You got a page there going. You can also check out the Johnnie Bobbo Show Facebook page as well. Post a lot of videos and try to keep you up with as much as we can here in this ever-growing field of sports radio. So, big thanks to our guy, Jim Saranteas, The Fantasy Greek, of thefantasygreek.com. Check him out at The Fantasy Greek on Twitter. Hashtag your questions, AskTFG. We'll be able to get back to you right away. He'll take care of all your problems, all your headaches you got going on with your fantasy team as you head into the playoffs here. Otherwise, Keith Grieve, thank you so much, sir, for hanging around with us today. 87sportsfans.com. You can also check him out at 87sportsfans, at LN Sports Radio on Twitter. And Bob Sullivan, our guy, he's not here, but you can check him out at Bob Sullivan Show on Twitter. And also, he's got his own little gig going on here with you, doesn't he, Keith?
What? Bob?
Yeah, he does stuff.
He's got the box seats on Tuesday nights, the Bob Sullivan Show on Sunday nights. He's a busy man.
And the Johnnie Bobbo Show on Thursday nights
Right.
when he's not taking customer complaints. But we love him to death, and he ain't here, but he was here in spirit. And Coty gave us a red rectangle just on time for Bob's sake, and Bob will appreciate that. But give us a download on your Spreaker app. Also listen to us on iTunes and on LateNightSportsRadio.com. So thank you very much, our callers, downloaders, texters, everybody that tweeted us. Thank you very much from everybody here at the Johnnie Bobbo Show. Like that show on Facebook. More importantly, be good.